Any Given Sunday Australia is proud to be supported by one of Australia's fastest growing men's grooming brands, Nutcare. Proudly Australian, Nutcare is taking down under-grooming to the modern-day man. Recently voted number 1 by Men's Health magazine with Bare Nuts pubic hair removal cream, Nutcare is revolutionizing male grooming. As proud supporters of Any Given Sunday, Nutcare is offering our listeners 10% off their first orders. Simply use promo code Any Given Sunday at the checkout and the discount will be applied. Nutcare, essential grooming for men.
Brown 45! Brown 45! Hot, 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 hot!
You are listening to Any Given Sunday Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number 1 podcast in at least 3 households, 1 studio, Gridiron Australia head office, NFL Australia head office, worldwide. We're on the move, and as you've just heard, if you were watching, that wasn't actually me speaking. We've gone futuristic. That was an AI version of me, and I'm pretty happy with it. I won't lie to you. Joining us, as always, not in his basement, in a different basement, wherever that may be, at TC24, Tim Cardy, AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Hey, T-Mac, hello, family. I'm just in a little mini sort of studio setup today. A little bit different look, but it'll do the job.
Am I wrong in saying it's a big day in your household?
It is a big day, a little milestone day for little Frank. Frankie's turned 1 today, so that's my youngest. So, yeah, big day at the Cardy household.
Those will know. I reckon it was obviously under 12 months ago that she actually joined us on the podcast. So
she'd made a few appearances, and actually I was up a little bit later than probably what I would have liked last night, putting a present together.
Nice.
Like all good dads, left it right to the last second, but got it done just in time.
Perfect. Shout out to Frankie. It's a huge day for her, but we can't forget the other man joining us, as always, in his normal digs, which is huge, at Danny Webb, AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Always good, always good. Love to see Cardi in a little mobile studio too. You can just set up your studio anywhere he wants to go.
But rolling studio, babe, we've got to be able to adapt.
Adapt and overcome. That is our mantra here, especially
That's
with the technical difficulties we have regularly. So, well done, Carts. Good to you.
And actually, lucky that you explained that was AI. I don't think anyone would have been able to tell with that way that ad was read there. That was pretty spot on.
Especially with the pauses in the incorrect places in the sentence.
Yeah. Nut, care, cream. Yeah, that's good. I think it sounded exactly like me, although I reckon I went a little bit posh, maybe a little bit, British towards the end there as well. But yeah, well, we'll see if we run with it. I don't hate it, so it saves my vocal cords, after a big couple of days. We're on to week 2 of our previews, our divisional previews. We said we weren't going to just do it in, north, south, east, west order, but we seem that we have. Week 2, we're going with the NFC South. We're going to keep it much the same as last week. We'll talk about last season, anything that's happened in the off-season, and then the upcoming season. We're going to start off with last season. The 4th seed Bucks, they made their way into the playoffs, losing to your Eagles, Danny. They actually beat your Eagles, now that I'm reading it correctly. 32-9 in the wild card. I do remember that now, actually. They went on to lose to the Lions 23-31 in the divisional. They topped the division 9-8, just ahead of the Saints, who were also 9-8. The Falcons finished 7-10, even though they had a lot of dramas with their QB position. The Panthers, with their brand new QB, depending how they're going to go this year, 2-15 they finished last year. I don't know if they're going to get much better. I imagine that's probably what we're going to be talking about pretty heavily in this one. This division, the last 2 seasons, Cards, if you've noticed, they actually went better last season, 9-8. The year before, not a single team made it above 500, I'm pretty sure. It was bordering on the worst division in the league. They did progress to have 2 teams that are above 500 this year. Do you reckon that trend continues, or do we go backwards?
We're on the up. No, it's definitely still a bit of a dumpster fire of a division, and like pretty much up for grabs for all 4 teams. But we'll get into that with your predictions later. But yeah, the Bucks took it out last year with an 8-9 record. So, 2022, sorry, a big pardon. 2022, 23. At least, yeah, they had a winning record.
They reversed it, 9-8. They did well.
Yeah.
One thing that I did find interesting about this division is the previous winners. The Bucks have won the last 3. Yep, I'm right with that one.
Correct.
The Saints won the 4 before that.
Correct.
Falcons won 1, and then back in the I don't have it in front of me, but like 14-15, I reckon the Panthers won a couple in a row. The Falcons are actually the only team that have never won back-to-back in this league, in this division. So I wonder, with some acquisitions and some things that they've done in the off-season, which we're going to get into now, whether they can get on a bit of a run, because punters are picking them to be favourites, I'm pretty sure. The first thing in this off-season stories that we have is the fact that Kirko Chains has gone to the Falcons, signing a $50 million. It was a signing bonus of $50 million. I think it was 100 and Danny, I think you were more all over than me. $100 million over 4 years or something like that.
It was lots, but just jumping back before we get into that for the Falcons, you're saying, are they going to go back to back? At least let them win one in the past 8 years. The last one,
that's I reckon. But getting onto this story is what I was. I reckon they can get into a bit of a run.
No, Kirk Cousins now has made around $280 million in his career. He signed a massive deal. I can't remember the figure off the top of my head, but it was lots. It was lots and lots. And so now if you calculate his career earnings per playoff win, he's now getting paid $280 million per playoff win.
Yeah, that's because he's had one.
So, like, obviously, Kirk on the Falcons is obviously going to be an improvement on Desmond Ridder and what they had last season. They are building around him. They've tried to bring in other pieces and stuff like that, but he's gone in as a little bit of a veteran to go in there and to try and give them some form of structure so they can actually finally take out this division again, which they haven't done in 8 years. They also
go back to back.
Yeah, and not enough that maybe potentially go back to back, but we'll see. I think it was a good thing for both Cousins and the Falcons. Cousins needs to get out of Minnesota. Like we said, he's only had one playoff win. He was almost a bit stagnant there. So it's going to be a good change up for him. And I think the Falcons probably needed some form of a little bit more of a veteran quarterback. And they also picked up Michael Penix Jr. in the draft as well. So they've not only picked up a veteran to get him through these next couple of years, but they've also got a QB to learn under Kirk Cousins. And he's a good quarterback to learn under. He is very, regimental in the things that he does. He's analytical of himself and the game. And he's pretty straight-laced. So as far as a new QB learning under someone, I think he's quite a good person to be have as a mentor.
Yeah, welcome back, Cart. Sort of, it was a couple of difficulties there. You're right, though. We already kind of covered the fact that Penix Jr. got picked up. I think it was pick 8 to the Falcons. So we sitting him under or behind Kirk is only going to help him. We've seen it with Jordan Love and the my Packers. So I don't hate the signing, and for sure they're looking for wins now. Bijan Robinson in the backfield and stuff like that. They want to make the most of these kind of players. So I don't hate this move, and I think it's going to play well for them this year. It also leads into our second story, the fact that they've got their third head coach in as many seasons or something like that. Raheem Morris is now the head coach.
No, that was the Panthers. The Raheem Morris is just the new. So Arthur Smith obviously got the arse last year. There might have been a couple of games left. But yeah, Raheem Morris has come across from the LA Rams. He was their defensive coordinator, so one of the DC hirings from 21 to 23 season. So Raheem's come across now. So I don't know. I suppose he would have got signed in the off-season, but it wasn't really an off-season story. But yeah. You get what we're saying.
Picking up what you're putting down, right?
Yeah. And that was one of the questions, I suppose, going back to the Penix Jr. draft selection were there other deficiencies maybe that they could have used that draft capital for, but they've obviously got a plan moving forward. We've got to give them a bit of time and space, see if it works out. But like you said, the blueprint is there with teams having done it in the past, getting high draft picks to sit behind veteran quarterbacks. So it could play out in favour of the Falcons moving forward.
Well, they've got the weapons. Like, as far as offensively, I think they're actually pretty stable. I'm not sure about their line. Kirk will definitely want a line that can block him. He didn't have one at Minnesota, so he was getting banged up, as we saw in the show Quarterback, where he was bruised ribs every second week. But I think offensively they're pretty well settled, and adding Kirk in there, they're going to go well. But defensively, I'm not 100% sure on them. But Danny, what are your thoughts, mate? I'll cut you off there.
Yeah, no, it was exactly what I was going to say. He does have a few offensive weapons. Obviously, Drake London really came into his own as their wide receiver, and Bijan Robinson, he didn't come out to be like the rookie offensive player of the year, which most people thought he was going to be yet, but he's still trying to find his way. And the coaches are saying that he's going to take more of a Christian McCaffrey sort of role moving into this next season. So he expected the ball to be in his hands a whole lot more and probably make him more of an impact, which would also give Kirk a little bit of a break. But another thing that none of us have mentioned yet, Kirk is coming back off that Achilles injury, which, as we've seen, they're somehow recovering from incredibly quickly now, these athletes, but it's still a major, major injury to come back from, and maybe he might not be as quick on his feet as possible. So definitely wants that strong offensive line, especially at the start of the season, because if he starts getting slammed, watch the run game go through the roof.
Do we actually know, will he be right for week 1?
He's listed as questionable, but we're still a while away, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember when he did it, but obviously he didn't do it as early as A-Rod. So it won't be the full 12 months either. But like I said, they got Bijan and Algier in the backfield, so they can lean pretty heavily on that run game. They're pretty strong in that sense.
Mm. Yeah, and the bringing in a defensive coordinator as a head coach, I said I've got worries or not 100% sure on their defense, but you think he's going to be probably a little bit more defensive minded kind of coach. So whether that leaves the offensive coordinator a bit more freedom or whether it chains him up, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think their offense is going to be pretty bloody good this year. Like, Danny, you make a great point, actually, that depending how this Achilles goes, but I reckon their offense, if he's up and going, when he went out, I reckon it was week 5, because after 5 weeks, or week 5 or 6, he went out. He was like the 3rd or 4th rated QB in the league last year.
Yeah, I think you're right. He was definitely top 5, yeah.
So, yeah, if he can recapture that form, you just never know. Like Danny said, they've got weapons out there, so it'll be an interesting season for the Falcons, and I think you'll see that by my predictions in a few minutes. Number three.
Just on Kirk before we move on, he was performing quite well because I did have him in fantasy, and he was almost my saviour for a few of those games that I was putting on down, because he's just a safe player. He doesn't really make mistakes, and I think with
Justin Jefferson last year though, like that's
but JJ's something else. But having quite a junior offensive core and then having someone who doesn't really make mistakes is a good combination.
Yeah. All right, number 3, Baker Mayfield signing a 3-year, $115 million deal, and joining up with Mike Evans signing a 2-year, $52 million deal, or DEL, as we've got written down. Huge, just for the Bucks, just like getting their core players and really just locking them down. I think Baker's really come into his own in the Bucks. He was a bit of a throw around everywhere. I think, was it against you guys a couple of years ago, Carts, he come in and won a game off like 4 days notice. Like, the fact that he's been able to settle down in the Bucks and
he did. Was that at the Rams? I think
at
he
the
went
Rams, though.
Yeah, that short-term contract. So, yeah, Mike Evans inked his deal, his 2-year, $52 million deal, and then 2 days later, that's when Baker signed his 3-year, $115 million deal. So it was the dominoes kind of fell in line there. One thing which probably leads into our next sort of 4th story is that Dave Canales was his offensive coordinator at the Bucks and helped him have that sort of, I guess, breakout year that he needed. He'd been a bit much maligned for a few years, and now Canales gone to divisional rival the Panthers, which, as we touched on before, is their 3rd head coach in as many years. But without Canales there, is that going to shake things up, make things hard for Baker? Who knows? Obviously a lot to play out, but I think a huge domino of Mike Evans signing was a big part of Baker signing on for the 3-year deal too.
Well, until Baker was working under Dave, he really didn't have much of a season that anyone was ever expecting him to for his 5 or 6 years since being the number one draft pick. He really wasn't doing anything until Dave came along, and Dave has known to have this sort of success in the past because his major part in Geno Smith getting the comeback player of the year, and now he's going to go to the Bucks. Go into the Panthers to really work on Bryce Young. I know he's gone there as the head coach, and it's going to be a little bit different in that sense. He's not just going to be his offensive coordinator, but also having that quarterback-minded coach who can help, mold quarterbacks to be to hit the potential that they're supposed to be getting. I think it's a great signing for the Panthers, and hopefully, we can actually see Bryce Young, significantly improve on what he did last year. Because last year he made the most mistakes. I think his QB rating was the 27th or something in the league. He really wasn't there where everyone was expecting him to be as a number one draft pick. But now we've seen in the past that Dave actually had success with this. So it'll be really interesting to see. And now that they've actually improved their offensive line, it's going to be really interesting to see, the leap or jump that Bryce Young can take, especially from last season.
Yeah, we've got 2 stories in one, but I love that. That's good. That keeps us moving. Bryce Young, you mentioned having that Dave Canales. That's it. We roll with the punches. Having that Dave Canales influence, and seeing the success of CJ Stroud, who was picked behind him, obviously. Do the Panthers put a little bit more pressure and think that they can make that kind of second-year leap? Hopefully.
Like I said to you, the Panthers have spent big on their interior line. They got former Seahawks, Damian Lewis for a 4-year, $53 million deal. And then former Dolphins, Robert Hunt for a 5-year, $100 million deal. Just really trying to, protect Bryce as much as possible. So, if he's not getting sacked as much and if he's got a little bit more time to make decisions, he's just going to make better decisions. So I really think they are going to improve offensively. They've spent the money that they will. And now they've got the coach to do so. So everything's pointing in the line that they're going to get better.
Yeah, 100%. We kind of skipped over. We went very offensive for the Bucks, but they've also made Anton Winfield Jr. the highest paid DB in the league, $84 million over 4 years. Last year, he produced the only season in this century with 120-plus tackles, 6 forced fumbles, and 6 sacks, as well as 12 passes defended. So I think he's well and truly earned that 84 over 4, and it just, again, strengthens that core for the Bucks here, Carts.
Hell yeah, and like we said, we love to see people getting paid, and you're putting up those sorts of numbers. It's good to see you get the reward for the work you're producing.
And the Bucks are doing what the Bucks always do, which they always seem to do, especially when they had Brady and stuff like that, a couple of years back. They're really good at having a really strong offense, but also quite a strong defense as well. So they're not really just focusing heavily on one side of the ball, and that keeps them in games. So if their offense isn't firing on all cylinders, well, they've got a really strong defense to back them up, and keep the score low. And vice versa, if the defense is struggling a little bit, well, they've still got a pretty strong offense, so they'll be able to get shit done. So I think the Bucks, by doing that and shoring up both sides of the ball, it's just going to put them in a nice, strong stead to, at least make a dent in this division.
Now, the last story we have is the last team that we haven't spoken about, and I feel like the fact that the story that we've got about them is this kind of says what kind of season they're going to have. So the Saints, I'm going to say in Danny's eyes, put this story up. I could be wrong, could be Carts. I didn't put it up. I don't know. You can say who put it up. Carts, was it you?
I did.
They have the player with the best name.
If you don't agree that this is the best name in the league, I think you're kidding yourself. Kool-Aid McKinstry. It's the best name I've ever heard. But the thing is, he's actually also a pretty impressive cornerback. Beg your pardon. He was an All-American out of Alabama. I think he's coming into his second season. But I suppose that in itself is a bit of a thing. We just don't talk about the Saints that much these days. And even last year, I reckon it came up that we just don't talk about the Saints. They've got a lot of cap issues coming up. Like they're spending money like they're still a contender when quite, realistically they're not. So it might be a bit of a year of pain for some Saints fans. And then, look, we're going to have to hit the reset button, rebuild, sort out these cap issues, which is sort of starting to rear their head and sort of clear house a little bit. But yeah, unfortunately, that was the best kind of off-season story that we had for the Saints, because that's about all that's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I found a story for the Saints, which again, it doesn't quite go well, but Derek Carr, he was kind of the only guy we really spoke about in the last few years. That big change from Vegas to the Saints, that was kind of their only really sticking point in the last few years. But Carr himself, he's only 2 losses away from being the only quarterback ever that has lost to every single team.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good stat.
Yeah.
And to be
Probably
fair, he
not one
caught
you want.
fire a little bit in the back half of the year last year. Like, he had some actually pretty good numbers by the end of the year. But, yeah, like that. Yeah, I guess that's a last season signing. Like, it's not nothing here.
Hello. The only 2 teams, Danny, that he hasn't lost to is Carter's Raiders and the Panthers. He's obviously playing both teams this season. I'll put it on you now. Do you think he becomes the first person to lose to all 32 teams?
The Panthers, I think, just due to what we were talking about before, and really looking at it, they should improve, and they get to play him twice. I reckon they'll go 1-1. So yes, that's tick that one off. Panthers, they're going to lose because I reckon they'll go 1-1 against the Saints. They'll both probably win at home. The Raiders,
Yeah.
like, I love Minshew more than anyone, but he is a solid number 2 quarterback. I do believe, like, it's going to be great to see him, like, run his own team. He really performed last season with the Colts. Anyway, we'll get to this when we talk about the Raiders in that division. But yeah, I think that'll be a harder beat, and because it's only one out. Are they playing at home or away?
That is a great question.
I'm gonna yes. Let's do it for the story. Let's make this thing juicy. I reckon yes, he's going to lose to both the Raiders and the Panthers this year, which no one might suspect, and might be just me going out on a limb, but I'm going for it. I'm going on the fact that Derek Carr is now going to lose to all 32 teams this season.
Carr's just had to step out of the room while you spoke about that one with his Raiders, but he's come back a happy boy hearing that news.
No, that's okay. I caught the tail end.
Alrighty, boys, let's move on to the next season. And Carts, we've got your strength of schedule little
graphic.
What did we call it last week? Graphic, that's the one. We've got that still set up, ready to go. So do you want to go through these 4 teams and what their strength of schedule looks like?
I'd love to. I thought you'd never ask. And this actually supports our argument before of the dumpster fire that is the NFC South. So of the 4 teams, they're all got up to the 11th easiest schedule. So obviously the Falcons has by far the easiest. And if you might share this graphic for the people watching, Macca, you can see them right up in the top left, all in their lonesome with the easiest schedule. The Saints are sitting 5th. We've got the Panthers at 10th, and then the Bucks at the 11th easiest. So all this graphics kind of broken down into a green for easy and a red for hard. So all teams in the green, easy side of the schedule. So, and that's obviously based off previous performance and things like and the like and expected margins. But as we said, it's based on Vegas forecasted win totals.
This will be popping up as we're talking about it, but the Falcons are that far ahead of everyone else. It's not funny.
They're an outlier. How they're far and up to the left, far away from everyone else. So expecting no games are easy in the NFL, but according to all predictions and things of the like, they do have the easiest run this coming season.
When you were first talking about this, I'm like, surely it can't be that easy. And then I've opened it up, and yeah, okay, they're playing Philly and the Chiefs early on. Then after that, it's like every single one of their games is actually winnable. Very much really winnable.
I should have mentioned the NFC South. He's going to be playing the AFC West and the NFC East. So I should have mentioned that. But yeah, obviously, and a lot plays into like who you end up playing at home and the like. But I think the Bucks with the 11th easiest. They have a bit of a stretch around week 5 to 10, just leading into the bye for them. That will be a bit of a challenge, and will probably sort of forecast how the rest of their year is going to pan out, how they go through that tough stretch of 6 games there. But yeah, as we sort of alluded to, on the easier side of the schedule for all 4 teams here in the NFC South.
It definitely lines up with what I have picked with each team, and you're right that the Bucks do have, the Bucks have got that real tough stretch in the middle, which can kind of derail their season, I reckon, leading into their bye. But
Yeah, it's pre-bye, yeah.
yeah, so we'll get into, like you said, they're playing the AFC West and the NFC East. So surprising that they've got such easy schedules because they're not easy divisions. So
No, they're quite strong divisions, but yeah.
I think they're getting them in the right places, I guess, like at home in regards to away and stuff, like, especially the Falcons. Coming up, they did finish third, so they've obviously got the third place in both of those divisions as well. So we'll go through.
It is that they're playing their own division, which we've said before.
That is also a great point.
It's a dumpster fire of division. Which always, like, if you're playing in that division, you're going to have an easier schedule, and that is clear as day in this little graphic.
Yep.
Smart. All right, let's start off with no surprise. The Panthers. I've got them going 3-14, so getting better than last year.
One game,
but I didn't have them getting much better.
Is this based off you just can't see Bryce Young progressing, getting that second year rookie development, or the three head coaches in 3 years? That's a problem.
I did this before, obviously, our discussion, and you boys have kind of swayed me to think that he does have that progression in him, especially with a good head coach behind him. But he just didn't show enough, and I'm just not sure. They just know that I don't have any confidence in what they could produce.
I'm going to straight up disagree with you here. And so do all the bookies. The bookies have them at they're over under at 5.5 wins, and you've gone well and truly on the unders.
Big time unders.
I think with the head coach bump, them shoring up their front line a little bit by paying some people some big bucks to like protect Bryce. I think they're going to do a little bit better than one game better than last season. I think around that 5-win mark's probably where they're at. 5 to 6.
I'm happy with 5 as well. And their owner, his name escapes me at the moment, but he's still a maverick. He's still a bit of an unknown quantity in some respects. So
maverick is a great way to describe it.
He could change some stuff up mid-season. We never know.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my 3-14. It was just they're tough. They're tough to pick.
Pick for your guns, mate. Put your big boy pants on.
Next up, I had the Saints at 7-10.
Yeah.
Their under/over is 7.5. So pretty close.
Okay, so you're agreeing with the bookies there. They're just such an unknown quantity. Like, I don't know. I guess we don't talk about them for a reason. They're not super relevant at the moment. Derek Carr, I think we said, caught a bit of fire in the second half of the last season and put up some good numbers, but does he have the pieces around him? Probably not. I think probably 6 to 7 wins is probably pretty fair.
Yeah, I reckon you're bang on there. And so, like, anytime you agree with the bookies, like, you've made a very much an educated decision on where they're going to finish.
I think the biggest thing that stuck out for me is when you look at they're an aging roster. Like, Cam Jordan's 35, and he's probably their best player. And he's slowing down, with age. So, again, just the confidence to be like, I reckon they'll pinch a couple at home. The away games are always a flip of a coin, really. So, that again, no confidence in what they're going to be able to provide this year. Next, I had the Bucks. They're 7.5 as well with the bookies, and I gave them on the right side of that. I gave them 8 and 9. Again, just some home games. You think they're probably going to steal them, and the away games being a bit of a flip of a coin for them.
Yeah, and I think exactly what we said earlier in the episode with Baker Mayfield, like finding his zone, getting more comfortable, a few of his weapons coming back to help him get there over the line, and their defense is strong. Their defense is going to keep them in games more than a lot of these other teams. So I think with that, I reckon they potentially have a winning season.
Yeah, and I think just the biggest question will be, obviously they've got continuity, keeping Baker, keeping Mike Evans and the like, but re-signing those two, but just losing OC Dave Canales, obviously, to the Panthers, like we talked about, is that going to make them, like, how different is their offense going to look this year off the back of that? So I'm happy with an 8 and 9 there, I think, Macca.
And the last one, the Falcons, the bookies have them at 9.5. I think especially with, Bucks, Panthers and Saints, I reckon I was leaning a bit more towards, if you couldn't pick up at the start of the episode, I'm pretty bullish on what they might be able to provide this year. So I actually gave them 12-5, which will have them pretty high up there
Outrageous.
in the seedings.
You fully drank the Kool-Aid McHistory on this one.
Yeah. Every last drop of it.
I think
12-5. We're talking about a quarterback who's questionable at this point. He's coming back, and then if he's not suiting up in their first games, the first 3 games against Pittsburgh, Philly, and the Chiefs. So if he's not back for the first week 3, chalk them down as 3 losses straight away. And you reckon after that they've only got 2 more losses in them for the rest of the season?
Yep. Can you see on your screen, Danny, how far up in that top left-hand corner they are sitting?
Oh, I know. I can see the graphic, and we'll make sure everyone else can see it as well. I agree. They got the easiest schedule. They should come out with 12-5. Wow.
Yeah, I think 12-5 is pretty wild. I'm even not hesitant, but I think a 9-8 season. So a winning season, but I think
9.5 is the bookies.
Yeah, well, 9-8 is where it sits for me for sure.
They're still going to have some teething problems.
Yeah.
Like Kirk's not just going to be a little plug and play quarterback. He's not just going to get in there and just, take over everything.
Well, I don't know. I think he's been over his time. He slotted straight in from, I want to say Washington. Straight into Minnesota pretty well, and they had a pretty good season straight up. So I think he can be that plug and play kind of bloke, and he's got some weapons around him. Like you said, Drake London, I reckon he's ready to take that next kind of step. They got Kyle Pitts, one of the best young tight ends going around. That offensive line, I have a feeling they're better than what Minnesota had, but that's still a bit of a question mark for me. But yeah, just I'm pretty bullish on what they can do offensively, and then bringing in a defense-minded coach. I don't know. I'm pretty bullish on what they can provide.
Just while we're on the 12-5, so if they played last season and they got a 12-5, the teams they would have finished equal to would have been the Cowboys, 49ers, Lions, and the only team that would have beat them would have been the Ravens. That's where you're putting them just because they picked up Kirk Cousins.
What's your point? Bijan Robinson's a beast.
I love the optimism. The optimism. We don't normally see that from you, Macca, so it's refreshing.
Yeah, especially with Kirk Cousins. I hated him.
You do hate Kirk, but now he's out of Minnesota, I suppose.
Yeah, he's out of my division.
When Kirk went to Minnesota, was Kevin O'Connell the coach then?
Nah. They had, I can picture his face, but I've forgotten about him. Nah, Kevin O'Connell, I reckon it's only his 3rd season this season.
But so he's gone to Minnesota with an established coach. Raheem Morris is a new coach, so there's those sorts of things. Like, there's going to be, like Danny said, there's still going to be a few teething issues. Like, yeah, their offense is looking strong, and their running back room is strong and things like that. But we've got to forget, like, they weren't very good. Oh, so we've got to remember, they weren't great last year. And
they still finished 7-10. I reckon they've got a much better roster than what they had last year, and they could easily 10-7 is very, very, very achievable. I think
10-7, yeah, 12-5.
That's not your 12-5 though.
Well, I'll sneak a couple other games. So I've got one off the Panthers. Yeah, no, there's every chance. I reckon the Falcons go 6-0 in their division. They've only got to get 6 more wins.
Mark it. Mark this point. Mark this clip, and we'll come back to it.
Yeah. Nah. All right. What other stats do we have? I had a few more written down. So,
just the money.
As far as the bookies, price-wise, no surprise. Carter, are you putting any money on Carolina at $11?
I like to keep my money, thank you.
Yeah, fair enough.
They won't be donating that one.
Tickle any of your fancies?
No, 0.
Danny?
Oh, wait, just move on. Absolutely.
So the two that we've kind of decided around that 7 mark, $4 for Tampa Bay and $4.50 for New Orleans. Is either of those jumping out at you boys?
Maybe Tampa at 4, just for a little dabble, but
I reckon New Orleans is generous at $4.50.
I think that's quite generous. I probably would have seen them at around 7s, maybe $7.50.
And then the 12-5 Falcons finishing off at $1.72.
They're
pretty
quite
safe.
quite short price too from the bookies. So obviously, and the bookies rarely get these sorts of ones wrong.
Yeah.
But like, there's not a lot of juice there.
Not when
No.
it's that outrageous.
And obviously, their ridiculously easy schedule is the reason why they are at that $1.72, because this is just betting to take out the division, not betting to see if they get 12 and 5.
Correct. Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, nice. Nah, so I think I'm definitely happy to chuck them at $1.72 into an outrageous multi, just to juice
Into
it
the
up a little
multi.
bit.
Yep.
Yeah, juice it up a bit. I think they are. I don't know. I think the Bucks at $4 could, if they get on a bit of a roll, like we said, through that, was it 5 to 10 week period?
Week
when
5 to 10 will sort of tell the tale.
Yeah. And I do love, they haven't done it always in the past, but the NFL's schedule makers, they've done really well. The last week of the year, everyone plays each other in the same division. So that's across all divisions. I love that. That is such a great way to finish the season. So we could have a... No, we won't. It'll be 12 and 5. It'll be fine. The Falcons have got this one in the bag. It's one of the... Oregon last week was a harder week to try and pick who's going to win out of the
Well, last week
AFC
just
South.
felt more even. This is maybe a 2-horse race.
Yeah, 1.5 horses, I reckon.
Yeah, that's probably more fair. Yeah.
Nah, nice. All right, boys. Great way to finish. I love that. We don't know which episode we're going to pick next week. There's no point even pretending that we do. We're going to pick it during the week and then start working out which division we'll talk about. Good luck going home, Carts, to a wild house, I'm sure.
Going over to some birthday cake. So, what? Nothing wrong with that. That's exciting.
What kind of cake do we go? I'm an ice cream cake.
We've gone the carrot cake tonight for Frankie.
Pretty
Homemade?
Unfortunately, we were a little bit time pressed, so not homemade this on this occasion, but that's okay. Probably busy parents.
Yeah, mate, when you parents that you guys are, it's good to see you finally failed at something because you rarely fail.
That's not an L.
Yeah, no, fair enough. All right, boys, great work. See you later, fam. We'll see you next week.